Wauchula. Jim Hay also carried responsibilities as the title of airport manager, which meant that he took care of the day-to-day operations out here: fuel tanks, runways, lights, nuisance animals, all the things associated that you would have with a municipal, small rural airport. The airport administration, if you will, for lack of a better term, is typically handled by Miss Olivia Minshew, Assistant City Manager over there, because we are very, very dependent on state funding, grants and all that here for this airport to remain in existence. So she handles that aspect of it because of management of the grants, the accounting functions, and all working with our finance department. So there's been a separation of employment with Mr. Hay in the city of Wauchula, and that's why there's two other gentlemen sitting here today just starting to get some exposure to what's going on, because we happen to have a board meeting scheduled for today because we have to keep the airport open and running. So there's things like the fuel tank, the amount of fuel in that tank, the credit card machines where people are able to do the self-serve, self-pump out here, what are any current and quick maintenance needs and all that here. So we're just trying to put our hands around that to see who is going to be now responsible for those day-to-day operations. So.
Do you have an interim?
Right now it'll be Jason Klein is our planner in Public Works. Andy Maddox is the Director of Public Works. It's going to fall under their too, the responsibility to keep the day-to-day operations up and running. AFCON is also, because they are our FAA consultants here, to give us any guidance or direction if we need to ask for specific questions to get any kind of specific answers until we get ourselves reacclimated, because unfortunately it was one of those areas at the city of Wauchula we only had one employee involved and had any real knowledge of it at that time. So now we're in a learning training mode real quick. So.
Thank you. Can you tell us when the separation took place, Terry?
Last Friday.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Comments or concerns from the general public?
Well, I have been here a short length of time, but I've been coming here for 25 years.
We need to have your name for the record.
Okay, I'm Homer O'Neill, resident of Wauchula now. Like I say, I have no dog in this fight, except I've been coming here for 25 years. I think Mr. Jerry knows, Sunset Wing Road Club. And during the time that Mr. Hay has been here, taking care of this facility, it's never, in our opinion, excuse me, been run better. He's Johnny on the spot. You call him, you got a problem, he's right there to fix it. If you just got a question, he's right there to answer it. I see no reason to move him out, terminate him from here. I think, well, I know he would make an excellent manager here at this airport.
Well, if he'd like to volunteer, I mean, we're always looking for volunteers, but the airport does not make money. The airport costs the city money. And so his salary was based off of what he'd done as the IT manager at the city of Wauchula. He did receive free housing or free rent over here, if you would, living in the house trailer. And so we will continue to strive to provide the same level of service that you had to come expecting of with Jim being out here. And so that's why we've got staff out here today to start figuring out what's going on. And part of the problem is we had one person that knew it and did not want to share that knowledge with anyone else. And that puts us at a bad spot. You know, we have to have more than one person that knows how to do anything in the city of Wauchula. So that is now our goal, is to provide at the same level, if not better service than what you become accustomed to out here in the last few years.
I know it has been wonderful in the last few years. It has been that.
My name's Rick Martin. I'm one of your customers here at the airport. I'm in D5. I've been here about 10 years and certainly witnessed the transition between Dick Wiseman, who previously managed the airport, and Jim's work. And I can certainly echo what Bud said, as I'm sure most of the people here will also indicate that the airport's seen a vast improvement with Jim being here. A couple of questions popped into my mind while I was listening to the discussion. Is it the intention that there will still be someone on site all the time?
Oh, yes, sir, yeah. Jim has until December 1st to be able to be off of the property, so I can't have anyone in the trailer
Right.
until at least that time. But there will still remain someone on site. To tell you today who that person
Right.
is yet, I don't quite know yet.
And I'll assume that person is gonna be compensated for their time spent here.
They will have that access to that facility to live in over there, yes, sir, the same as Jim has.
That will be their only compensation for their services provided here?
At this time, that's the only thing that I could see it would be. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a reason that Jim can't continue to do that if that's the way he wants to do it without compensation?
Because we feel it's in the best interest of the city is for whoever's out here to be a city employee, and he is no longer a city employee. This is the city of Wauchula's municipal airport, and we need to keep that in mind, and for the best interest of the city and the citizens and all the people we serve out here, that needs to be someone that's under our control as far as what do you do, how do you do, when you do it, what rules and regulations you follow.
Is that an absolute requirement that the person who works here has to be a city employee?
That is not an absolute written requirement that I can think of anywhere today, but as I'm sure tonight, the city commission would probably want it to be that way before we ever put anyone else in that program.
All right. And I'm a little bit of a loss. I'm not sure how the actual administrative flow chart goes as far as what the airport authority's job is in relation to Jim's job, and then there's the city commission, and there's yourself. Can you explain that to me? Who decides what and who has control over what?
The airport manager's role, or the person that assumes that responsibility, has been with Jim, and the one right prior to him was Police Chief Jim Beatty. They were all city employees. Now, the board is an advisory board, just the same as any planning and zoning board, historic preservation board, planning, all those are advisory boards. Now, they conduct the business, if you will, of saying, here's where we think we need to go, like discussions with design and growth and what are we going to do out here. But then again, most everything still has to be approved by the Wauchula City Commission, because they are ultimately the responsible party, the governing agency over the municipal airport.
Do you agree with what he just said, that you're an advisory board?
Mm-hmm.
You have no authority?
Right.
Do you agree with that?
Pretty much, yeah.
Then why are you voting on extending leases and going out for deciding who's going to get design funding and apply to the DOT? Why are you guys doing that? You're advisory?
We recommend to the city, and then they can say yes or no.
I thought you were a special district under the FAA, or under the state, to manage the airport. I think you have authority. I think you're the airport authority, not the airport advisory board.
And you can boil it down to, Mr. Pillman, you're probably exactly right. If you want
I don't think you have any reason to even be out here, Mr. Atchley.
I think Airport, so.
No, I think the airport authority runs this airport.
Well, then what authority do you have to be here? If
I'm
not
the
allowed to be
public.
here?
This is a
I'm
sunshine
public
board
member
meeting.
too. I live in this community as well.
You just fired the airport manager.
That's right, because he worked for me.
Now, the question he just had was, why is he working for you? Why isn't he working for the airport authority? My understanding was the only function that you provide out here is to run the payroll and run the accounting for the airport authority through the city books. I think something bad happened here where a certain Mr. Hay was the airport manager, and then all of a sudden he's an IT guy, and he's a public works guy, and he's a bunch of other stuff guys, and things are all mixed up. And now I think we got a situation where you got an airport here where it looks to me like you might have fired somebody without city commission approval, because you're going to bring it up tonight. You fired him at 9:30 in the morning on a Friday by eliminating his ability to check in. You took his email and stuff off, is my understanding.
Absolutely nothing to do with his airport.
And you guys bringing two guys out here that are going to try to pick up the thing, and you're using an excuse because you can't have one guy in the brain trust. And I don't think that this thing is set up right. And I think if you're parking trailers out here and doing some kind of a tenement housing where you're letting people live here for free and trade for, work for food type of situation, this is the Airport Authority Board. They're in charge of the airport. You're not in charge of the airport. They should be the one figuring out who the hell is going to manage this airport, not you. And if you decide that you want to eliminate, that's what you told him. You told him you're going to eliminate his position. You didn't tell him he was fired for cause that I know of. I don't know if there's any disciplinary action or something that happened where this guy got fired. I think somebody told him he didn't have to come today. His position was eliminated on Friday morning. York City Commission meets tonight. You haven't even brought that. These people didn't even know about this. They didn't know about this because I got here a half an hour early. They're in the dark. This is the Airport Authority. You're on their airport, not your airport. Jim C's working for the airport. We like that, or Jim C, right? Jim Hay works for the airport, done a great job here. We like that guy. And that somebody came in that has nothing to do with the airport except run their accounts through their books. Came in here and eliminated his job is what he was told. Now that's not the way you just made it look. You're making it look like he did something bad, something you can't talk about. Now, okay, then we think that there's some kind of a scheme. We think there's an agenda where you got something up your sleeve where you're going to hire somebody else. You're going to put somebody else in there because you don't want anybody in that trailer unless they're a city employee. You can't explain why. They would have to be a city employee. This is the Airport Authority. Anybody can live in that trailer. They don't report to you. If they're an IT guy, you can tell them to do somersaults.
Somebody else's shot.
You cannot.
I have a possible solution. Would you please get us a legal opinion on the relationship between the airport authority and the city?
He told you you're an advisory council.
We believe we are an advisory board.
I believe you're a special district. It's an authority.
Okay.
Airport Authority.
We will get a legal opinion.
You should know that.
We will get a legal opinion.
You should know that.
I'm not as omnipotent as you.
You're,
I'm trying, but I'm not quite there yet.
listen, if you sit on this board, at least you ought to know what the hell your powers are.
We have had
Now he's telling you you can suggest
The
things.
city's attorney has been to these meetings and has explained our role. We have been repeatedly told we are an advisory board.
This guy came in here and fired your airport manager right out from under you.
Well, okay.
And he brings in a couple of public works guys.
What is unprudent about us getting a legal opinion to clarify this issue?
What I would do,
and if we have the authority to intercede in Mr. Hayes' dismissal, we'll exercise that authority.
What I would do right now if I were you, I would tell Mr. Atchley
that he owns the airport. It's his airport.
No, you own the airport. He runs the money through his books.
Does anybody else have any comments? Yes.
For the record, I would like to say, please consider this a formal request from the consumers, taxpayers, for the airport authority, if it is within your abilities, if it's your job to control who manages and runs this airport, we formally request that you support our desire to keep Mr. Hay in that capacity, even if he's not a city employee, and that you take this issue to the commission meeting.
What is the city's subsidy to the airport annually, roughly?
At this point, they're almost up to what, 750,000. If projects go forward this year, that additional match is needed, it would probably put us closer to the million.
Those are capital subsidies. What are the operating subsidies to the airport?
Annually, it can run anywhere between $30,000 and $50,000 just to come up with. That's mainly the match.
Is that inclusive of his salary?
No, sir. There is no salary paid by the airport.
But if his pay at the city of Wauchula was placed as a direct burden on the airport,
then it would be even more.
Then we would have We'd have to raise an additional $100,000.
For what?
In operating expenses.
For what?
To cover the operating, she just said that the city is subsidizing the operating cost of the airport
For
between 30 and
Jim C. cost you
$50,000 a year.
$100,000? Is that what, I mean,
No.
Jim C. Jim Hay cost you $100,000?
No, listen to me.
His salary was not paid
30
out of the airport fund at all.
There was,
His salary was, I think, $28 an hour, no, $22 an hour. You guys lowered his salary to $22 an hour when you took away
but
his
regardless,
public works
okay, so that's
responsibilities.
$44,000 a year added to the 30 to 50. So the airport is getting around an $80,000 to $90,000 a year operating subsidy from the city of Wauchula if there was a full-time airport manager hired here.
Did you understand?
That's not gonna change.
Did you understand that I wasn't necessarily asking for any compensation? He could take a job for a telephone company in town, but we still want him here managing this airport because of how good a job he does. We know nobody else is gonna come in here and
Right.
manage this place as well as he has done.
That's how
And the other thing, if you're firing that guy and you are going to do a new position, then you're gonna follow the full process. You're gonna advertise, you're gonna pull your applicants together, you're gonna get all the resumes, you're gonna interview, you're gonna tabulate, you're gonna do all your stuff, and you're gonna pick the most qualified. Now, the question is, you're gonna offer them nothing. You're gonna let him live in a trailer over here. And he's gonna be a city employee living in a trailer over here? Is that what you're trying to say, Mr. Atchley?
Currently has been
No, no, you got a guy that's the GIS guy, IT guy, a
That's city
purchasing
stuff.
guy.
Now, you're wanting to
He
say
does
he's not city,
emails,
he's
he
not
does
airport.
public
Which
works.
way is it, Mr.
Well,
Goodman?
you're the one that mixed and matched the guy. He's been there 13 years. He's been at the he was at the airport 8 years. You're the one mixing and matching this stuff.
Yes, sir.
You're the one
It's
keeps
been
adding
mixed
stuff onto his plate.
Anybody else have any comments? We've had a couple of comments, we'll give somebody else a shot. Okay.
I have one more.
All right.
I kind of have a feel for what's going on. I mean, I can read between the lines, and I would just like to also say that I think almost everybody at this table knows that you will probably never, ever find someone to give you so many services for so little money as Jim Hay has. We have been scared that he was going to have a breakdown for all his responsibilities. I mean, you know how many things he was doing and how well he was doing them. You will never find somebody to give you that much bang for the buck. There are other airports that have already called asking for his services. There have always been airports calling him to find out how he made this airport so good. How do we make our airport like Wauchula? We want to be like Wauchula. I think you're about to throw away something very special.
That's for sure. I'm getting a little nervous, and I'm not sure how much you can publicly say what's going on. You have an 8-year-long employee who obviously did a lot of stuff.
13.
Or sorry, many years. You entrusted him a lot of very different tasks, which for me is a
Excuse me,
trust.
didn't meet your name?
Hendrik Grover. I can write it down. Hendrik Grover. And I'm a customer here too. So you trusted him a lot of different activities, a very wide range of challenges. And all of a sudden that guy had done obviously something so dramatically criminal that you kicked him out Friday morning without something else. There has to be something in the background which I think will show up in the public. And now we from the airport, and guys, we are together, you know, we are the flyers and the customers, and you are the authority. So I think we should learn what's going on there.
Right.
Because it's, otherwise, what's behind that? And then you will automatically run into some issues if you don't have good reasons, and then we certainly will also want to know what happened. So you better get prepared then, because from our limited view, we are very happy. Not happy because he's tough. You know, the guy tells you exactly what you should not do and what you have to do, and you have to better follow the rules or you will not be on the airport. That's why this airport is in such a good shape. And obviously from our limited view, what we see, the guy does a good job. We had to follow the rules, but the rules were logical and well supported. Good job. Now, obviously something happened in your town which you think is a good reason to get rid of the guy. Now, we from the airport, that's why, you know, you guys were a little surprised when we are here, but we consider us part of you, the airport. And therefore, I think because the guy works for the airport, for us, we would like to know that. And I think it will not slide by. Don't expect us to just fall over and die here silently and just watch what's happening in the city. There will be some questions. So
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, what, Mr.
Tell us why,
Answer his question.
Why you fired him and what's...
He was not fired for any wrongdoing, as clearly explained to Mr. Hay. You have to keep in mind, the airport responsibilities was a small side part of his job. His primary job was the IT manager at the city of Wauchula. We have decided it's in the best interest of the city to look at contracting out those services, as many organizations are starting to do. It's more than we can afford to pay for by adding more people to handle the IT side of the business. Had nothing to do with the airport. Unfortunately, those had outcomes that impacts the airport to some degree as well.
Was, I'm Neil, was that, was Mr. Hay offered this position as a contractor? Was he offered to?
I haven't decided what we're going to do with it right now.
Okay.
So we have to go through this whole process of analyzing what's in the best interest of the city of Wauchula. This is the city of Wauchula airport, and that's what I'm responsible for. Now I have to take care of this one piece at a time. The IT is important, at the same time the airport is important. Right now, he has been a city employee. City employees have managed this airport for many years. City employees are still sitting here to try to keep providing the same level and quality of services until we determine what the outcome will actually be.
One more question. Why, it's just for my edification, why was he terminated before?
He was not terminated.
Okay, why was his job eliminated before the commission met?
Because I make all employee decisions for the city of Wauchula, not the commission.
Okay,
And then if there are big impacts, I make them aware of it after the fact. So
You didn't make an employee decision.
I made an employee decision when I eliminated a position.
You
at the city of
eliminated a
Wauchula.
position.
Exactly.
That
right.
should
And
go
that's
before
my
your commission.
responsibility and my authority.
You
The
create
employees do
positions.
not work for the city commission, they work for me.
I know that. If you're,
Anybody else have any other comments? Yes.
Yeah, my name is Brooke Bittler. I'm also a tenant. Known Jim a long time. You know, we all love Jim dearly. And we all know his history with this city, which in our opinion is impeccable. That's why he kept going up the ladder and more responsibility given, and that's really excellent. So I understand the IT position getting farmed out from a political, financial point of view. But what about going back down the ladder when he was the purchasing agent, and he did an excellent job there, and he was in charge of straightening out the cemetery plots, and there are just so many things that he was doing and overwhelmed on then this too. And I can understand losing a position and consolidating how the city operates. That's perfectly understandable. But what I don't understand is no place for Jim when Jim is just so qualified. He's not an old dog that 65 years old you want to kick out so he doesn't get benefits. He's a young man. He's at the top of his game. He's very intelligent, very smart, very good, very respected. And you know, we are all Wauchula family too. We support this town. We go to Paul's. We go to the hardware store. We are very involved with this town. Bud moved here from Alabama. You know, we like it here. We like Jim. Jim is our red carpet. We support him. We just don't understand there being no place for Jim And this town needs Jim. Jim is a very valuable resource. I can understand the position being eliminated, but I can't understand eliminating, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Sure, get rid of that position or farm it out. Do whatever you gotta do. Jim is a good man. Jim is a great man. And that's why we're here. We really support him, and we know his input into this city. We know how he had to hire a guy to help him when he kind of hated to see him leave the purchasing agent department. But he's just good at what he does. And we just think Jim is, he's born and bred wauchula. He likes working for this town. He has a lot of friends here. He's well liked. He's well respected. We don't understand him being kicked out because maybe there's a personal beef, or maybe it is just this IT thing you want to sub out. But Jim really needs to work for the city, and he is an asset to the city. We don't see him as a liability, although he may not. We all have assets and liabilities. We all have friends and people who don't like us, but we do our job. And we really don't think you should lose Jim, and we understand his position going away. But there has to be a place for Jim. He is top notch, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm gonna take just a second. Unless someone really has something additionally to share, I'm gonna ask it after this gentleman speaks that maybe we could bring this to a close. The way things stand now, as we understand it as a airport authority, is we recommend. Now, we've asked that that be reviewed to see if in fact we do have more authority. If we find out that we do, we will certainly act accordingly. But right now we're just a recommending board, and most of this discussion really should be with the city of Wauchula and not this board. We may be sympathetic. I think everybody liked Jim. But again, this is a city of Wauchula issue as it stands right now. And I believe you had your hand up. Yes.
Yeah, Paul Early. I've been a tenant out here for several years. Just briefly, the way I understand the situation, Jim lost his job one way or another because his positions are being eliminated, and we need to have a city employee out here to take over the airport management position. So as soon as Jim's gone, we're going to open up the position of airport management to bid or whatever, whoever wants to come out here for no compensation. But it's only open to those employees of the city.
All right.
So any employee of the city who wants to come out here and live in a trailer for free, you're welcome to do it as long as you're an airport manager, as you could if you take on the responsibilities that Jim had. You're drawn to an inside street here. You've got a small population of people who might possibly qualify under your proposed rules. Which one is going to step up and do the job that Jim's been doing? Which one is capable? Losers game. Let's keep the guy that's been doing the job here.
Why does he have to be a city employee to live here?
Okay. I'd said this was the last one, but I gave you one more.
Henry Grover again.
Yes.
For me, I do run businesses here, and I do a lot of employee decisions, and I'm a little surprised that somebody with a wide capability of the range of capabilities gets let go after the position is eliminated. Normally, in my business, I would try to find somebody else to let go, because I would like to have a team of capable people who prove, like purchasing manager, other, that they can do it. In my feeling, and maybe that's a little bit of a disappointed pilot, it feels a little reckless of the gentleman that he says, okay, I get some other guy somewhere, I just put him in that position at the airport, and somehow we do it, and that's it. I'm not happy with that. And, you know, we as airport guys, we need somebody with capability here, with brain, with knowledge, with authority. And not just, and therefore I strongly recommend that we really follow his advice and say, what's his position as such? Can he do it? And I think for Jim it's really important to ask the question, should he compete with the other city employees if they can come up with a competing qualification package, or should somebody else go if that position is eliminated? But that's just a personal recommendation. I think the city will have a pretty complicated law situation. I think you're a proud guy, you make the decision, you just get rid of the guys, watch out. Of course, we from the airport, we are not sure if you do the fair and beneficial things for the airport. And maybe there's other things.
Or under my purview and responsibility. In some of the evaluation processes that we've been doing for the last 3 years, looking at how we continue to do business and how we do things as we move forward, a decision has been made as it relates to our IT department, because we've had one man that's done a great job for us there. But unfortunately, it's gotten to be a big job, and now the more and more that we continue adding is all the changes that you're all well aware that we've been through in the last few years. We feel that it's going to be in the best interest of the city that as we move forward that we start looking for contractual services to provide IT support to us. So effective as of last Friday, Jim Hay, who's been with the city for a long time, done a good job. I did notify him, let him know that unfortunately we are eliminating that position and would be seeking through the RFP process contractual services to be able to manage and handle our IT workforce. Now, just saying that also brings to light, as everyone's aware, for the last several years, Jim has also functioned as both our airport manager. And as working for the airport manager, there were a group of concerned citizens today that came to the airport board meeting out at the pilot's lounge at the airport, concerned about Jim not going to be out there anymore, trying to reassure them that we are still in the goal of providing as quality of service to those, especially a lot of them that have rental units that rent hangars out there and utilize the services of the airport. There were a couple of questions that were asked at that time that I couldn't answer right off the top of my head, so I did want to share with you in case that you received any questions about it. And in Article 5, under boards, committees, and commissions, as it relates to the airport authority and the creation of the powers in Section 2-8.2-87, with the following caveats: that any action by the authority which affects the airport shall be subject to approval by the City Council, and that any action taken by the authority contrary to this division shall be null and void, and that in the case of conflict between action taken by the authority and action taken by the City Council, the action of the latter shall prevail. The authority shall have the following powers in all areas, and only those areas comprising the airport. And it goes on to list 4 different areas of authority relating to things such as sue incompetent in court, make rules, to make rules and regulations according to government regulations, and fix rates and charges. Then one of the other concerns was whether I had the authority as the city manager to eliminate the position, and Jim ultimately then not being the city manager. Then under Section 2-89, personnel clearly states employees, and he was the only employee, if you will, of the authority, shall be deemed employees of the city to the same extent as all other employees of the city, subject to the same rules and regulations, and entitled to all the privileges and benefits thereof. So one of the other things that we have to make sure of what you may want, because of it being a little bit unique, is there is a house trailer that is on the property that was moved in some time ago, several years ago. Not quite sure, because again, this is one of those things that was done, can't find a paper trail on it. But one of the benefits that Mr. Hay has enjoyed as the airport manager was staying on the property. That gave us the handyman, if you will, and site security at nighttime and all. So that's been a benefit to him, living in that property, and the city incurring all the costs associated to it. So in my discussions with Mr. Hay on Friday, I also let him know that that means he would have to be out by December the 1st off of the property, off of the city property. So I just wanted to make you aware of the actions that I have taken, just to keep you up to date as best I can, especially that it has some sort of outreaching effects here when people, we all may not always understand how the relationship between the city and the airport is. It is the Wauchula City Municipal Airport. So that's just an FYI for you, and wanted to bring you up to date on that, so in case you have any questions or get any questions.
So who's going to handle the everyday current activities at the airport?
Right now, when we had the airport board meeting today, and I was running a few minutes late, so I didn't get to be there to make inform the board myself of the change. But we did have 2 more public works employees. The director, just because he's always the public works director, his people are always the one that go out and do the mowing and the maintenance and all the stuff that has to happen. And then the city planner, who is also retired from the Air Force, has a lot of experience in this type of stuff, that will start working with us and training him to make sure that we keep the same level and quality of service going. Just him having to, as we all do, acquire and assume more responsibility as changes continue to come. So, and the names are Jason and Andy, as you well, is the department director, so he was just there for exposure.
So you don't anticipate any degradation in service to the airport?
No, sir.
Or
No.
changes?
There have been a lot of hard work put in for the last several years to improve the airport. You've all have been exposed to it. We had discussions in this past budget development process of just how much money the city has spent on the airport to continue moving it forward. And as we told you, that's something we'll be bringing back to you again, because you know it's creeping up there towards $1 million, and the airport has no way of paying that money back. So we want to make sure we all, I believe, understand the economic development concept. We need the airport, but you have to also be apprised and kept up to date on what that investment means to the city, and are you willing to continue to make those investments as we move forward, because it's always about the matching dollars that we as the city have to put up against all the state grants that we continue to get from FDOT and from the FAA. So. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody have anything else? Yes, sir. Come on, state your name for the...
Manager Airport, been there about 10 years. And I'm definitely one of the concerned parties. I'm very concerned about, I have no doubt that someone else could possibly be trained to take on or to learn the skills that Jim currently possesses. But I think it's going to take a while. Most of you have probably known Jim a long time, and you know he's a very, very go-getter kind of person. I'm well aware of the hats that he's worn and the services that he's provided for the city. I venture to say you've probably been paying him for one job and getting about 3 or 4 jobs out of him over the last several years. We've watched his stress level rise to the point where we were actually concerned about his health. I mean, for instance, I would ask this question. If a runway light goes out tomorrow, is the person that's going to take that job be there tomorrow? Are they going to understand how to do that? Do they know what's in the vault and what goes on in that electronics room and how to deal with that? Do they know how to deal with the FAA and NTSB, and what if a plane comes in and forgets to put its landing gear down, which has happened several times? Are they going to be able to run out there and know what to do to get that plane off the runway? There's a lot of experience that Jim has that is going to take a long time to get back. I can't imagine that you have many other employees in this city that give you what he gives you per dollar. I wish you could have all been at the meeting today. It was evident by talking to the board members, the airport authority members after the meeting, that everybody smelled that this was a personal conflict issue. Everybody could tell that. You don't, if you need to cut some money somewhere, you don't cut the employee that's giving you $4 per your $1. You cut someone else that's not being as efficient. There's something going on here. All the airport authority members that I talked to today, they all knew it, they understood it. But what was really embarrassing is that none of them knew that the airport manager had been removed.
Right.
I looked at Joe Smith and I said, Joe, you know, he's like, what? What's going on? And I said, I feel bad for you. You were blindsided. And all of them had that same reaction. You know, what's going on? And all the airport, all the pilots that were there were going, are you kidding me? And by the way, Dick Wiseman, who was, I guess, Dick and then Chief Beatty and then Jim, Dick Wiseman wasn't a city employee, for what that's worth.
Really?
So, I don't know, we smell a personal issue here, and we, as the pilots, as we told the airport authority members today, we, for the record, we strongly request that you intervene and dig a little deeper and do what's right in this situation. Jim has already been approached by other airports. It's going to be really tough to lose his skills, and that little voice in the back of my brain is telling me, you know what? There's going to be a problem arise. It's going to be in public works, or it's going to be IT, or it's going to be GIS, or it's going to be the airport, and man, we're going to wish Jim was here. And I really think we're making a mistake here. And I cannot say strongly enough, please consider at least investigating this issue further and look into what the real causes are, and please consider keeping Jim at least in the capacity of the airport. Thank you.
My name's Bud O'Neill. I bought a place over on 113 North 1st Avenue. I've been here just a short time, but we visited your city for the past 25 years, bringing Benson Days into the community here. And we appreciate the airport and everything that's happened with it. I'll not take up a lot of your time. I'll just concur with Rick. Almost everything he said. Thank you.
Sir?
My name is Joseph Richard McPherson, 620 North Pine Avenue, Fort Meade, Florida. Born and raised right in this area. And really have nothing to add except I agree with Mr. Rick and everybody else that it'd be a terrible loss.
Anything else?
Is there anything you need to say other than?
No, sir, I was just apprising you of the actions that I had taken as city manager in personnel related issues.
Okay.
All right. Do you have anything else?
No, not this time.
All right. Well, everybody has a good night. I got some.